Hello, folks. This is Expressman, and I am doing, I don't know, this is probably my fourth How to Play Space Engineers video. The others aren't on this channel, but Space Engineers is actually, I play a lot of games. Space Engineers overall, I would say is probably my favorite game because it has the most opportunity for creative sandbox stuff. If I really need to be like artistically creative, I might play Planet Zoo, but then there's no social aspect. You can do Minecraft, you can do Mod Minecraft, you can do all these other games, but really so far, nothing has topped Space Engineers for just letting me go crazy with like designing things that are functional. And it's just a lot of fun. So it's kind of like engineering in space, but not real engineering, but it's still solving problems. Anyway, so here we are in the main screen. This is a complete newbie video. If you know nothing, this is a good place to start. I will try to keep it as fast as possible, but there is a lot of stuff to cover. I'll probably break this into 3 videos. I used to do it in 2, but you'll see why. So here I am on the main screen. You will notice I have all these little logos under the main logo. That's because I have all the DLC. Now, Keen Software House, behind the people behind the Pragians. I don't know what you call people from Prague. They're behind Space Engineers. They say you don't have to have any of the DLC for more or less the full game experience. However, that's not really true. There is some things that are functional that you do get in the DLCs. They are more useful than say Conan Exiles DLCs, which are basically just very expensive skins. The base Space Engineers game is pretty cheap, but I do recommend, if you can afford it, getting all the DLC. There's some really good stuff in there that you'll like. So I'm going to go through everything, basically how to set up your first game, how to land, how to get started, and I'm all about the fast start. So I run a clan called PSI, and for Space Engineers, they're PSI. And we are fast. We start fast. It used to be, if there was a server reset or if we had to change servers, it's like, oh no, we lost all our work. We don't even feel like that now. If there's a server reset, we're like, okay, we'll be back up to end game play in 3 days or less. So what I want to show you is kind of some of our tips, tricks, and secrets for how we get started as fast as possible, because we want to do the fun stuff as soon as we can. So here we go. Let me do this. There we go. And so we're going to just start with a completely new game. So I'm going to hit the new game button. And for whatever reason, they hide what we use the most carefully. So they have like all these scenarios and stuff. And honestly, I've never played them. I played a little bit of the snow one. But I'm not a big fan of this. It's just not my thing. I like the open world sandbox thing. So we're actually going to go to custom game. And then in custom game, we have these options. And we're going to go down to the bottom. Again, they hide the one you want. That says star system. This gets you the whole universe. We need to give it a name. We're going to call it YouTube tutorial. And we don't need to give it a description. There is creative and survival mode, very Minecrafty if you're used to that. Online or offline, there is a couple modes. Private means friends, Steam friends only. No, that's not true. What does it say? Private means, what is it, invitation only? Only invited players. Yep, friends means only Steam friends, and public means anyone on Steam can jump in your session. So you might want to be careful about that. I'm going to set private. I don't anticipate inviting anybody, but it gives me options. Max players for, yeah, this is not important. Autosave, I like to leave autosave. And then we have mods in advanced. Let's go to advanced really fast. And you have these multipliers. If you're familiar with the context, the concept of multipliers is pretty easy. So I'm going to bump a few of these up, mostly to make the tutorial happen well. Although on any server, I do recommend at least 5x character inventory. 3x is really rough. Assembler efficiency, refinery speed, welding speed, that's all fine. Grinding speed, environment hostility is fine. Asteroid amount, none. Asteroids are dumb. Sound mode realistic. And I think everything else is fine. Day duration 2 hours. Max objects. Yeah, I think everything else is fine. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go with just 10x on the character inventory size. That you will thank me for. The other thing is there's mods. So I want to teach you the vanilla game, except for the problem with that is that the vanilla game, well, it's no one does it, right? If you join any server that's besides the Keen official servers, which are bad, although by the way, don't do it. If you join a server, it's going to have mods, and those mods do change the way you play the game, including how you play the game in the opening. So I'm going to click on mods. With the release that came out 2 weeks ago, there was a big release. That's part of the reason I need to do another starter video, because they rebalanced hydrogen, which is a fuel type that you burn both to create electrical energy as well as power thrusters. Hydrogen is really important, and the rebalance was a really big deal. I tested the rebalance today, and I discovered something, and let me explain that. So it's very typical on a server to see this mod right here, and these are mods I've subscribed to. I'll show you how to do that. And what it's under H. Let's see, E, F, G, H. There it is, right there. See, I have hydrogen efficiency 10x and hydrogen efficiency 5x. A lot of servers run 10x because basically left vanilla, hydrogen is blah. I hesitate to say worthless, but pretty close to worthless. The rebalance seems to make it better, but after I tested it, I wasn't fully satisfied with what the rebalance did. And so I used to recommend that server admins do hydrogen efficiency 10x to make hydrogen actually useful. However, after the rebalance, I believe 5x does the job. So this is the only mod I'm going to tell you as a vanilla player that you must install. It's, I hesitate to say game changer. It's a game changer. The other one I'm going to put on here, I'm going to show you how to work with and without this mod, but it is also an absolute game changer, and you will run into it in a lot of servers. And you guys who know me know what's coming. It's called the Nanobot Build and Repair System. That is basically a super magical welder, wireless welding system. And I will explain that later too, but it completely changes even early game fundamentals, which is why I'm going to include it in here, but I can build one or not build one. So I can show you what it's like to not build one, and I can show you what it's like probably in a subsequent video, how you actually use it early on. So I'm going to have those two mods. If you don't have the mods, Steam Workshop is a really big deal in Space Engineers. You can download, subscribe to, and then it downloads and they come up in the list. Lots of different ships, even stations and things like that. There's some really good stuff on there. I put some stuff on there. I actually owe the Steam Workshop some stuff that I promised to put up there. But anyway, you can subscribe to mods, and you can actually do that right through here. If you click Browse Workshop, you don't even need to exit Space Engineers. Pulls it up. You go Nanobot. Well, can you type Expressman? There it is. You can see I have it checked. The Nanobot build and repair system. There's kind of a bunch of forks and variations on it, but I have the one that's rated 5 stars, and it's just called Nanobot Build and Repair System. So you definitely want to check those little teeny gray boxes, subscribe. I would recommend to Hydrogen 5X, Hydrogen Efficiency 5X, and Nanobot Build and Repair System. There's quite a lot of other really good mods, but I consider those to be absolutely essential. So we're going to say, so those are moved over here. We're going to say, okay. And now they're going to be part of our world when we create it. I think we're good now. YouTube tutorial, custom game, click start. All right, let's generate the world. I love their little promo screens. They do a good job at just cool stuff like that. You're like, look at the details going, how'd they build it? Oh, I've never used that piece that way. Anyway. Just Just generating a universe takes a minute. There we go. Okay, so it's going to drop you in this interface. And it says, where do you want to start in this universe? And your options are Earth-like drop pod. So Earth-like, there is an Earth, but they don't call it Earth. They call it Earth-like because it's not Earth. But it has Earth's gravity, and it has, you know, a vegetation type environment. And then you've got Mars, Titan, which is a moon, I believe, alien planet, the Earth's moon, Triton Europa. Petrum is a brand new planet I haven't even explored yet. It came with the most recent release 2 weeks ago, as well as a space pod or space suit entry. My favorite, and I recommend it to people because it's easy, is the Mars drop pod. Again, people know me, not shocked at all. Most people jump into Earth-like. I discourage that for 2 reasons. 1, harder to find resources. 2, everyone else is there. If you're looking for a fight and you're a new player, you're not looking for a fight. And 3, it's harder on your computer loading in that vegetation stuff that serves no purpose. It's not like you can harvest trees. You can't. So I clicked Mars drop pod. We will hit the respawn button. Now, if you're jumping into an existing server and somebody is inviting you like to their faction, you can actually click this, go back to faction selection. But okay, let's see here. I'm going to make myself game on. There we go. This faction selection only button, and you can choose that faction, apply to join it. They can include you in that. Then rather than seeing drop pods, you will see spawn points that belong to that faction, which you definitely want to do that. But obviously this is a completely new world, no faction, no anything, fresh start. We'll hit respawn. Shouldn't take long to do this. And it's going to put us in this, literally a drop pod. We have no control here, but we want to hit V really fast, and we want to hold Alt and scroll out. We want to scout the landscape as we fall. A parachute will deploy automatically. Oh, I'm in the desert zone, kind of. There's a big crater over there. Not much going on here. Super flat. It's good for vehicles, bad for other things. But this is kind of my opportunity because we're going to wait a minute before we land. Now, all of these white patches that you see, they're gray patches, are resources of some kind. And we're going to identify what they are and eventually get around to harvesting them. These lumps on the ground are also resources. They are like past fallen asteroids that have some sort of, you know, useful mineral in them. So we're going to check those out too. We have touched down on the ground. I'm going to press V to go back inside my pod. I'm going to press F to jump out of my pod. You cannot, and I'm going to scroll Alt Wheel to get close to my character. You cannot, I like to be first person. You cannot fly this as such. There is actually a way to, I want to say, grind off 2 of the engines and 3 of the landing gear. I've done it before. It's tedious. And you have to grind a couple other parts down too. And you can actually configure a couple engines so that this is flyable. And then you can fly it to a location you'd rather start at. The other option is you can die and just continue to redrop pod until you drop somewhere you like. That's an option. I used to be picky about even sometimes suit flying to a good spot. However, I'm to the point now where I can drop anywhere and do just fine. So I'm not super picky about it. So I'm not going to bother with it. I mean, I don't know, we're out here in the desert. That's fine. I used to use mountains and craters, but I'm beginning to be of the belief that open flat land is actually more defensible than being in a crater or well, up on a mountain is really the best, but it's got its own problems. So here we are in the drop pod. This is what we call a small grid ship because there are 2 different block sizes in Space Engineers, and large ships are made of large block sizes as well as bases, but small ships are made out of the small block size. We are going to need to do a couple things. We've got vitals on the bottom left side of the screen over there, so you can see the little health plus icon. My health is 100. O2 is my oxygen levels in suit. Those will deplete as my character breathes. Of course, the little power button is my electricity levels in suit, and the H2 is my hydrogen levels, because my suit, let me hit V again, does have a little flight pack on here. And actually, if I press Z, no, that's the dampers. All right, okay, I've been playing a lot of other games. Cut me some slack. Press X, space bar to go up, C to go down, X. You can actually fly around. That's super handy. But obviously your hydrogen levels will deplete. Now, this is Space Engineers. You have machines, various types of components, and they are connected to each other. And so that's what's going on here. I will explain each and every one of these. But the first thing we need to do is scout out the area and start getting resource sources converted into components in our ship. So to do that, I'm going to start walking this way while I talk. I could fly, but this gives me a second to talk. We have what's called the G menu. That's front and center down here. And I should mention, you know what? I'm going to make my character. I should mention that we call it the G menu because you can modify it by pressing the G key. And I can just hit escape and clear that out. I should also mention this is both a, oh no, help, Expressman, my, I really like to see my face in here. Help, Expressman, my interface disappeared. What do? I have no interface. I'm so lost. Well, the reason I'm mentioning that is because if you hit tab, it actually cycles between full hint interface. If you look at the G menu, you can see additional little letters and stuff. And if you hit tab again, the hints disappear. And if you hit tab again, the whole interface disappears. So it's a 3-stage cycle with the tab key. All right, I'm going to go ahead for your sake and leave the little hints up. I turn them off because I know what they all say. But anyway, the G menu here, just because you see something in the G menu doesn't mean you have it. It means it's how you access it. So the G menu, it's pretty standard in a lot of games. You know, you can hit 1 for the welder, 2 for the grinder, 3 for the mining hand drill. The helper thing says what it is. But it's fully configurable. So if you hit the G menu, the G key, you can drag around what's what. You can add different things, but these are all representative. This means if you had the item or if you had the resources, you could make this or use this. But if you don't have it, you don't have it. This shows everything. So you see how my other welders here are kind of dark or faded gray, and these are more opaque, the basic ones. That's because I have them. So in fact, if I hit the 4 key, yeah, I can select the basic block, but you see how it's like red, and yeah, so I can't actually build one. It's just if I had the material to build a basic light armor block, I could hit the 4 key to do it. And as I mentioned, there are small grid and large grid. If I hit the 4 key again, there's actually the small grid block, and I can cycle between it by just using its selector key repeatedly. But yeah, we don't have the stuff yet. We're working on that. That's the goal right now. So I'm going to hit 3 for the drill. Now the drill actually has an ore detector built into it. You see how as soon as I grab the drill, there's that yellow-brown ice thing that says 30.4 meters. My drill is detecting that because I'm holding it. It has a limited detection range, which of course improves with upgrading the drill. So you can see there's ice right down here, 5.7 meters. Ice isn't the biggest thing we need to get first. We have some in the drop pod, but that's cool. Now, what I could do, and this whole field here is probably ice. Sometimes there's another item, but not usually with ice, but there is sometimes. What I like to do, though, is in the future, so I know what this is, and I'm not rechecking and rechecking and rechecking this to see what it is you can hit enter, and that pulls up the chat thing, the global chat. Like if I typed words in here and hit enter, everyone on the entire server would see it, which of course this is a private local session, so I would be the only one to see it. However, if you type /GPS, that's a quick command, and then you can give it a name. So I can say Mars ice and hit enter. And then if you see me step away from this spot, See that blue Mars ice? Like that is a marker I then created, and that becomes useful, especially at night in a storm, whatever. Plus, I know I've checked what this is. I'm going to go ahead and hit X, fly up a little bit. This is a pretty big field. Whoa, whoa, what is happening? What is happening? Okay. Why is there an error on joining my own session? That is not an online session. That is a local session. Interesting. By the way, Space Engineers is buggy. It's really buggy. In fact, it is so buggy, the bugs have a persona. It's called Clang with a K. And it became a forums and internet meme in Space Engineers that, you can't upset Lord Clang, or the Clang will get you, or don't tempt Clang. It became such a prevalent meme that, to their credit, Keen leaned into it. And if you get the soda dispenser, it will dispense Clang soda. All right, we're back in the game. That was annoying. Did it not save? Yep, it backed us up to an autosave moment before we save the ice. So again, enter /GPS. Mars ice. I say Mars because then I'll start going into space and make GPS points, and then they get all mixed up, and I like to turn off groups of GPS points, but you have to do it one by one. So the unique name is how I manage that. It's just how I do things. All right, so let's try this. Apparently this is a high risk maneuver, but let's try flying again. You can run into ground hard and die, so I don't encourage it. Silicon is good, but not at the top of our things we need list. And there's also ice and magnesium. That's also really good, but not something we need at the beginning. But I'm going to go ahead and mark this. So I'm going to say GPS. And I like to use the scientific notation. So I'm going to say ice, S-I-M-G, so that I know that there is ice, silicon, and magnesium here. I didn't say Mars. Oh well. Do as I say, not as I do. You can go in and edit that later. Now I got to keep on seeing my hydrogen's already half out. So what I'm going to do here, before I get way too exploratory, is fly back to my respawn pod. And I'll just hit 3 to make the drill go away. Not that it matters. Hey. Again, X to activate and deactivate the 0. Got my games mixed up. Now we've got in our spawn pod a couple different devices. This is making sure I get this right. Yes, this is the survival kit. Now the survival kit is a unique item in Space Engineers. It's kind of a do-all machine, but it doesn't do everything very well. Notice how my oxygen, power, and hydrogen levels are depleted right now. If I go up to this little blue screen and press F and hold F, you can see it recharging all of those elements over on that side. And there you go. Now that does deplete things, but anyway, that is the survival kit. The survival kit, if you supply it with hydrogen and oxygen, will fill hydrogen and oxygen. Of course, if it's powered, it will fill your power. Excuse me. And if you have materials in there, it will actually refine and build things. So it is essentially it is both a refinery, a micro refinery, and a micro constructor or assembler. But again, it's very limited in both capacities. It's just it exists to get us going. It's also important to know a spawn point. And it's this whole unit, by the way. It's just kind of turned sideways and crammed in here. It's also the spawn point. So if I were to die right now, this is exactly where I would respawn. And in fact, if I go back to the screen and press K, I can actually see, sorry, okay, I should probably change the opacity of this. I like to see through things for reasons that'll be obvious later. So it does make my menu a little difficult to read, but I know what I'm looking at. But you can see over here on this column here, it's selected on survival kit because that's the thing I was interacting with when I pulled this up. We're technically in the control panel column here. And then in the middle is options I have for the survival kit. So I can turn it off, I can turn it on, I can show it in the terminal, I can not show it in the terminal, da 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 da. But I also could name it. So I could say Expressman drop pod, and that's it. You don't have to, I think, maybe hit enter. No, I don't know. You don't have to save it. It changed already. So if I were to die and that list came up like we saw with the Mars drop pod, well, Expressman's drop pod would come up as an option and it would spawn us to here. We will go through these other tabs fairly soon. So, oh, there is an unknown signal. Those drop goodies sometimes, but we can chase that down. But before we do, we need to deal with this fact that I run out of hydrogen so quickly. And that is done with this unit. Again, it's kind of buried in here for the sake of design, but this unit is actually an H2O2 generator. So if I press F to access it, you'll see inside this H2O2 generator is if we hover over it, an oxygen bottle. Yeah, we can take it. A hydrogen bottle, that's the important thing. That's why I'm here, as well as ice. That's how it generates new hydrogen oxygen. It's how it refills your bottles. So we're going to leave that in there because it's doing its job. If it gets low, we'll add additional ice right here. There is actually a conveyor conduit. Conveyors and pipes are the same thing, by the way. There's no difference. Inside the drop pod here that pipes from right here from the O2H2 gen right here to our survival kit. That's how our survival kit has access to oxygen and hydrogen. We can grind down this thing for parts, and we will. By the way, if you're in any threat, you can hit F. Whoop, not F, wrong button. Okay. Why am I not seeing what I expect to see? It's the chair, and when we press I, there we go, I for inventory. And you can see stored in the chair storage, we actually have a gun, a mag, and the GPS point of some station that's not really important to us right now. So this is a great time to learn about the G menu because right now we added the gun and the mag to our inventory. We have it on our person. If I press I, you can see right here on the left-hand side, this is our suit inventory. And it has a weight and it has a volume. I also have 10,000 space credits. That's space money. But we can't access it. If you were attacked right now, you'd be like, there's nothing I can do. I will grind you with a grinder, which, by the way, is a great idea. Honestly, depending on the situation, this grinder right here is a better weapon than your machine gun. You can really, really, really mess someone up with this angle grinder. I mean, it's true in real life too. Have you ever held an angle grinder in real life and cut things? Like you can cut cement and steel with an angle grinder. So this thing should be regulated in the state of California because it is pretty awesome. All right, so we are going to use the G menu. So I'm going to press G. That gives us the G menu. And if we go to character weapons, we see the guns. And you see how the basic automatic rifle is, more opaque than the others. I could literally drag it down here and into position 4. Yeah, we don't have our basic block anymore. And the mags, it just automatically loads. You don't have to mess with that. And that's it. Click and fire. Right click for, sighting down the barrel. And of course you can't zoom because it's not scoped. Yeah, so again, 0 if you want to hold nothing. Otherwise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. So that is how you customize your G menu in short. And you can also see the little number below the weapon itself says 86. That's how many shots it has, or shots it has in the current mag. I'm not sure, but it's a fair amount. All right, so another thing that you will notice that was not true earlier is if you look over, I keep pointing the wrong way. If you look over in the O2H2 indicators on the bottom left, you will notice a teeny bottle icon over the levels. That means we are carrying a single O2H2 O2 bottle and a single H2 bottle. You can carry more than one, but it takes out on your overall weight, which is actually that line right above the G menu. There is your overall weight, and your capacity rather, and the weird thing about this is, like, if I start flying, and let me hit 3 to pull out my drill so that I'm detecting stuff, and let's hit a couple more. Well, first of all, we can go to these little asteroidy things. I'm going to keep flying to intentionally waste silver. That's nice. But again, we can't even process silver right now. Silicon, we talked about that. Also nice, but not in an immediate need. Now, I'm just purposely kind of burning hydrogen because I'm going to make a point here in a second. Let's see what this patch is. I got to get close enough to get a read. Now, some patches, the material is actually so deep that you cannot get a read on it with the basic drill. You can use a vehicle mounted detector that has quite a bit more range. You can use an elite detector that has a little bit more range. Or you can just, gold, that's why gold is deep. You can also just go to these things because these patches do mean there is something down there, and just start drilling down until you do detect something. Eventually you will. Gold is nice. Let's see what else is here before I label it. Of course, silver. Is it just gold and silver? Could be, although this is a pretty big field to be a gold and silver field. They tend to be small, and not always. I've encountered a few whoppers, but it's outside the norm. All right, looks like it's just gold and silver, so I'll kind of come to the middle here, see if I can get back to where I'm detecting both gold and silver. This is one method of doing it. It's not necessarily the best. I'm not even detecting anything now. Whatever. I'm gonna hit enter, GPS/GPS, Mars, and I'm gonna say AG is silver. Again, this is my notation, and AU is gold. Hit enter, makes a nice little happy sound. And so that's interesting, but we still haven't found the main thing we're looking for. Oh, you missed it already, sorry, but notice my hydrogen is up and sinking down again. So what the bottle does is when you're out, it refills it. And it refills it a certain number of times. So actually, if I hit I for inventory, and you look at the bottle, it's at 90% now. And that is somewhat of a function of that hydrogen efficiency mod that I loaded. So you can see our hydrogen ran all the way out. It filled it again, and it took 10%. So we could theoretically run all the way out 10 times. But it's a little unnerving, because if it does run out, it'll fill up the last time. That bottle icon will disappear. But if you're not accustomed to keeping an eye on it, you could find yourself in a bad situation. All right, so this is nickel. This is something we will need initially. It's sort of like the basics. Magnesium, good, but again, not what we need right now. Nickel mag, please be iron. Come on, I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. There's, nickel mags. There's never more than 3 in a particular area. GPS, Mars, and I am G and SI. Well, I was all hoping. This is a really big field. I was really hoping. It's just those 3. I was really hoping there'd be iron here. I don't generally struggle this much to find iron, although we've only been at it a few minutes. We're not truly far from our drop pod. Where is our drop pod? That's our drop pod. Let's go over here. I'm trying to keep, within a basic radius of the drop pod, because wherever we start to get iron, we're going to have to do it quite repeatedly. You know what? And I'm messing up our silicon, nickel. I'm actually flying along the ground here. Silicon, nickel, magnesium again. Mars. Okay, that's really weird. Twice. So there will be areas on Mars that are just richer in some things and poorer in others. And apparently this is a poor in iron area, which is a really bad news for me. Generally, there's ice. Generally, those really small sections are just ice. Let's see what this is. Not super big, but it's not super small either. Silicon, ice, and magnesium. This is killing me. All right. Ice. So we have a lot of magnesium. When we're to the stage that we need weaponry, like legit, all that magnesium will be very nice to have. But right now, it's not doing anything for us. Now, these little ones, I don't even want to be iron because this is really skimpy. More ice. Oh, I thought I detected another element right there for a second. No, it was just a different ice icon. It kind of bounces them around. All right, I am reduced to checking these. That's iron. Okay. I mean, sometimes I don't even mark these asteroids. I just try to see where they are in relation to our... It's kind of a long way away. Fine. I will just say enter / GPS phi iron. All right, but as I'm doing this, I'm realizing we don't actually have the ability to. Well, I don't actually remember if the basic survival. One of these could be iron too. I really need to check all of these. Silicon. This place is so silicon rich. That looks irony. Nope, silicon. My goodness. All right, so let's go to the respawn pod. I'm going to build some components, and I'm going to call it for this video. We're already 4 minutes in, but I'm trying to ease you into it here. So this is not an absolute quick start guide. This is an easy follow guide. So what we're going to do is just literally right here. Where's our survival kit? There's our survival kit. Literally right here, I'm going to C for crouch. And I'm going to right click. Now it's really, really important, space engineers, to know the difference between right clicking and left clicking. Right clicking causes you to mine. And some of it already went into my inventory, and the rest of it, there's a piece of stone I can pick up with the F key. F key is your everything. In a lot of games, the E key is your everything. Space engineers, F key is your everything. All right. What you need to be careful with, this is good when you need it and bad when you don't, is right-click mining. So right-click mining just clears large areas away, and you don't harvest anything, and it doesn't become rock either. It's just gone. It just deletes Earth, which sometimes is exactly what you want it to do. But I can't tell you how many times I was mining some resource that was important to me, and was accidentally right-click mining it and getting nothing, and it was gone forever. So know the difference. My suit just told me that I am low on energy, and my suit is right. So I'm going to come back here, press up, still crouching. That's why I was walking slow. The survival kit charges slowly. Later on, we will build a... what do you call it? The actual like med station, and those charge you really fast. So, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna crouch and then just start, and I'm gonna hold F. Actually, that's a trick, so that I'm holding left click and holding F so that I will pick up resources as I dig. It doesn't get all of them, but it gets most of them. And I'm just kind of making a circle here. Now, if this is a server with a lot of NPC enemies, which this is not, but if it were, if they had like a lot of the mods for combat NPCs, I would both be making this hole to get resources and to hide. I would actually build a base down here, and this would be the beginnings of me doing that. Right now, the hostility is nil, so I'm not going to build a base underground. Now this is, we're only just now reaching full because we did that 10x suit thing. If you had left it to default, you wouldn't be anywhere near here. Press X to fly, space bar to rise. There's our thing, X to stop flying. And now I'm going to come over here and, well, there's two options. One, I could push I, and I've got the inventory here. And there's my stone in my inventory. I can drag it over into the drop pod, and nothing happens. We haven't told it what to do with the stone. So, additionally, we need to go to production. And this is a weird thing that's only true of survival kits. We have to make this ingot bag. Now, later on, when we build proper assemblers and proper refineries, ingots go out the window. They don't matter. But right now, they completely matter. Ingots are necessary because basically what it does is it's breaking down the dirt into some of its core components, which it will get gravel, iron, silicon, and nickel out of earth. But it's very inefficient. If you click, it does 1, and you can see we got gravel, 3 iron, 0.24 nickel, 0.4 silicon. And that's great. We need lots of this. So we can control click and order 10. We can shift click and order 100. And we can control shift click and order 1000. I'm just gonna let it do that. Now, if this red indicates that there is not enough stone to make 1000 ingot, we'll grab a little more real quick, fill this guy up, and we're just gonna keep stuffing this thing for a little while. It is taking power and not inconsequential amount of power. There's our battery right there. You can see it's over 75% charged. It's a good sized battery. It's gonna last us a while. We don't need to do, like, this light technically is taking power and we could go in here and turn it off, but it's such a teeny amount of power, I don't even bother with it. Sooner or later, we're gonna be past the need for this drop pod at all, and we're gonna end up grinding it all away. So I wouldn't go in and turn off the lights to save a teeny bit of power. You probably use as much power in 1 second of this thing refining for you than the lights do in 24 hours. Let's see here. Did it stop? Did it already run out? Yep, it already ran out. So you can see we've got 81 ingot here, a little bit of nickel, a little bit of silicon. We need a lot. We need a lot more. So I'm going to pause this video. We will do part 2 after this. But in the meantime, I'm just going to hit that hole over there, grab a bunch of more resources, get them chugging along on there, and then we can move forward from there. So thank you for this very beginning, hopefully easy to understand, user-friendly intro guide to how to play Space Engineers in the winter of 2020. I am an Expressman. This is Expressman's awesome YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video when I find the stop record button.